Welcome to Concept Will Beam, the podcast, where the intention is well, but let's be for real. Life gets a little chaotic, and so do we. And that's totally fine. It's fine. You're fine. I'm fine. We're literally fine. And we're all about finding the balance while staying honest with health, wellness, and all the juicy topics that matter. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Concept Will Being the podcast where the intention is well. My name is Jade. I'll be your host for today's episode. And I'm super excited because today's going to be a very special episode. First, this is the first episode I'm dropping for 2025. So happy new year. But also, I have Tamar with me, and she's going to help me do our 6-month follow up for ayahuasca. So this is a follow up of the episode that I recorded in, I think it was like late June, about my Peru experience doing ayahuasca. Tamar was a part of the ayahuasca, I want to say like cohort where we all did ayahuasca together. So she's going to share her story and then we'll tell you guys where we're at 6 months later. So Tamar, thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time.
I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so let's start from the beginning because might as well. Everyone already heard my story, but let's hear your story. How did you first learn about ayahuasca? Like, where did this come from?
Yeah, I think so. I have been working on or trying to grow my spirituality like over the last 5 years. I have a very, I don't want to say woo because she hates that I use those words, but a therapist who is a therapist by on paper and also very spiritual and into different types of alternative or plant medicines herself, and also looks at spirituality from a number of different lenses like shamanism and Kabbalah and all kinds of different ways of seeing the world through spirituality. And I remember asking her many years ago, or maybe like 4 years ago, like, should I do ayahuasca? And she was like, definitely not. And here are the reasons why. And more recently, a little over 6 months ago, I just brought it up in a conversation again. And she said, well, if you feel drawn to do ayahuasca, then you should start researching it and find a place that you feel like you can do ayahuasca and it be safe. So the reason I was interested in what ayahuasca was really for its healing purposes. Jade knows this, but I'm not much of a person who has tried or experimented with drugs or is interested in that. But because this was natural and also something that was more medicine based, I was interested in learning more about it. So I did some research and heard these like super profound experiences that people had and wanted to go into it with an open mind and zero expectations, but wanted to find a place where I felt like I could be safe to do ayahuasca. It was also really important to me not to just like go to LA and do it in somebody's backyard, but like be in a place where ayahuasca comes from, around a real shaman who practices and helps people through their ayahuasca experiences. So I also decided to go to Peru, and that's where I met Jade.
Yes, that's where we met each other. That's where we had our experience. It was definitely an experience. Did you go there with I went there with an intention. Like I very much like sat on my intention and was like, this is what I want to focus on. Did you have one of those when you were going to Peru?
Yes, I had a few intentions, but most of all, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going into it hearing too much about other people's experiences or trying to have the same experience as somebody else. For me, it was more about really healing childhood trauma and gaining some kind of insight into my purpose in this life and how I should move forward with my job, not necessarily a job in terms of what I do for work, but my job here on earth.
Yes. Okay. So let's get into it.
Okay.
Ready? I'm so excited because we had a journey. So share with us your experience and we can start from wherever you want to. You could start from when you first got to Peru, from when we did, I forgot what was the first one? Cambo, wherever you want to start in your journey, give us the full rundown of how things went for you.
Okay. Well, first of all, Jade and I went on a retreat. So we worked with real shamans from the jungles of the Amazon that came into a retreat setting in the mountains, in the Andes in Peru. And they, I met with them before Jade arrived. There was like some pre-traveling that I did, and they were there. We went to a few different sightseeing activities together. So I met them in advance. On this retreat, we didn't only do ayahuasca, we did a lot of things, probably too much. We were there for 10 days. We did ayahuasca. We also did Cambo. We had like a cow ceremony. We did a sweat lodge. We also did Wachuma, which for me was pretty intense. And that's how it started off. So the first thing we did was Cambo, which is where they make a little three little burns or some burns on your body and put in, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jade, some kind of frog jelly that they scrape off your
Yeah.
frog's back. And it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to, like, from what they told us, it was supposed to remove heavy metals and kind of cleanse the body. Um, Again, I don't really respond well to drugs, or it took me a long time to throw up from that. So like we had to drink tons of water. They put it on us, and I think all of us within 20 to 30 minutes kind of threw up once or a couple times. I didn't really see it as that relevant. I didn't feel any different. I guess some people hallucinate. I didn't. I don't remember how it was for you though, Jade.
Honestly, it was pretty chill. Like, I think that I was just kind of like full of water, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, we had to drink so much water. I didn't hallucinate or anything. I think they really, in my opinion, like hyped it up a little bit. Like around the dinner table, they were like, yeah, it's like really intense. To me, it just felt like I drank too much tequila and like got sick the next day or something like that. But it was all of the water that I had to keep in my body. Like, they make you drink, like, I think I had like 4 or 5 hydro flasks of water within like 30 minutes, and they're like, keep going, keep going. So it wasn't bad. It was just like, it was just a lot of water. That's it. Like, I was fine. It
Yeah.
wasn't terrible. I think the thing that was like the most scary for me was like, what do you mean you're gonna burn 3 holes on my, like, that was like, when I I was like, Jade, you really didn't read the brochure, because I feel like you should have known that. But other than that, I was fine, no hallucinating or anything like that. I did feel afterwards like energetic, but I think it was just like a rush of like adrenaline maybe. But they did say like afterwards, like people get like really tired or they'll feel like really energetic. And I was just like, yay, I did it. That was pretty much it for me. So yeah.
It was the same. I don't even remember being energetic or tired. It was just like we did it, it's over. So not a lot of like relevance for me.
How was your first night?
The first, I try not to have any expectations. My intention was really to stay focused and also to leave with some kind of insight. I didn't need to, like, I met somebody who said they did ayahuasca one time and they saw God and their whole life was changed. I met somebody who said they did ayahuasca, and this is much more serious. And she's like, the first time I recognized that I was sexually abused by my father from ages 3 to 5. And I guess I blocked that out. So people are having like super intense, experiences. And I didn't expect that. I just hoped that when I was done, I would feel a little different or have some insight into my future. The first night I did ayahuasca, you don't really know what to expect. We're all kind of in this room. I think there's 5 of us.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
there was I don't know what we'd call him, the senior shaman, like the father of the woman who was the main shaman. And
Mm-hmm.
maestro, he was like 90 something years old. And then his daughter, who was our shaman, and her brother, and then some other family members and the facilitators of the program. And so we're all sitting on our little beds, and there's buckets next to us because we're all going to throw up, apparently. That's kind of what they told us. And the first night, remember drinking the ayahuasca in front of the shaman, her blessing me going back to my bed, and like just waiting because it took like 30 minutes to an hour before I felt anything. And primarily, I felt like throwing up, and I just felt sick and nauseous and had like a bad taste in my mouth. And it's just, you're sitting in pitch black and you just start hearing throw up noises. So, like, people are like,
Yeah.
and it's like not comfortable because we're not used to it. By the end of the first night, and it's like, it's normal, but like, we're like, ew, it's not a pleasant sound. And they're playing music and it's dark and you can't truly see everything that's happening. You see movements of people's bodies. And so, I just remember feeling really nauseous and throwing up a lot. And before I started throwing up, I sat up and I started feeling a little woozy, and I closed my eyes and saw some lines. I was like, okay, my experience is beginning. Tamar, like, be present, take a deep breath, you're safe. And then all of that went away. And I think for the majority of the 3 hours after that, I was just throwing up. And when we say throwing up, we're not eating anything for 6 hours before, and we stopped drinking
Yeah.
water a few hours before. So I was really just dry heaving, and very minimal liquid had come out. So it was very hard on my body. And that was my first night.
Okay. First night. And then the next day we have, I call it like America's Next Top Model, like judges. Like we're all sitting there. Like you walk in, I guess it's like a debrief or whatever. I don't remember what they
Yeah.
called it, but like you would go in one by one, talk to the shamans and stuff like that. How did your like day after go?
Yeah, I don't, to be honest, I don't even remember it that well, which tells me it wasn't really relevant. I
Mm-hmm.
think they sat with us and they just kind of gave us information about how we did or what happened the night before. And I was just kind of frustrated. I was like, I didn't hallucinate. Nothing happened to me. I just threw up a lot. And when I'm saying throw up, I'm like dry heaving. And not that it's embarrassing, but like everyone can hear me.
Yeah.
It's dark and everyone's hearing me just kind of dry heave for hours at a time. And then I just go back in my bed and then I'm like sober. So I wasn't impressed with the experience, but I said, you know what, I'm here for 3 nights. Like, let's see what happens in the next two. And they said every night can be different. It's different for everybody. And so I kind of was like, okay, off, like done with the first, let's get into it. Like that was like kind of a trial run.
Yeah. And to be clear, I think not a lot of people do 3 nights of ayahuasca. Like, I don't think that that's normal. I think usually people sit with ayahuasca one time, like within like a retreat setting, and then that's it. So I think to do three was a little different, but yeah, I think that's the same way I felt after night one was like, okay, there's still two more nights. So that like gave me hope, but I don't know that we needed to do 3 nights. Not a lot of people do that. But okay, so night one, nothing really happened. You threw up. You were just like, it was whatever. Did they sung to you though, right? How did that go for you?
The main shaman sung to me and she like took my hands and as she's singing she's kind of moving my hands around in like I don't know an artsy type of design and she's holding on to my wrists and I just thought it was really beautiful and relaxing. I didn't feel some magical thing but like again I didn't really know what the process was.
Hmm.
The facilitators guided us, put me in front of her. She like held my wrists. I guess she was feeling my hands and saying like tranquilo, like you're relaxed. And and then she would sing a song to me. She would then blow tobacco in my face and over the ayahuasca and I would take the ayahuasca. Um so yeah, I think it was really beautiful and relaxing, especially knowing that it's a traditional way of doing things, but there wasn't anything that happened for me.
Okay. And guys, when we say they sung to us, they sung, what was it, Icaros? Like, is that what it was
Yes.
called? So,
Yes.
Icaros is basically, my understanding of it is like them helping us through our journey. So, like, the shamans take like some ayahuasca with us, and then they're able to help us along the journey. And so, the song that they're singing is to help us go through our journey. So, that's what, like, that's when we say they're singing Icaros. So I just want to clarify that if you didn't listen to the first episode, you probably should, because I feel like I maybe went into a little bit more detail. But if you didn't, I just wanted you to know that that was what was happening. So okay, night one is done. Night two popped off for you. So let's hear night two, because
So yeah,
yeah.
like I'm still positive, like whatever, that was our trial night. Now is we're diving into it. And so the second night, I get a little bit of ayahuasca and it's kind of the same thing as the first night. I'm throwing up and I'm not feeling good. And they had said to me, you're doing a great, and after our download, they're like, you're doing a great job. You're releasing, like, just go to the next one. Yeah. Continue basically. So my second night, I had ayahuasca. I'm sitting in my bed. I'm feeling the same, just nauseous and gross, but I'm throwing up or spitting up. And I remember saying to myself, there's poison in your body. There's poison in your body. And like, I wanted it out. Like the taste of ayahuasca for me was like a very thick cough syrup that's not sweet. So it's very syrupy. It's not like you can take a shot. You literally, it drips out. So it's like very unpleasant for me. And so I just kept being like, I have poison in my mouth. I have poison. I want it out. I want it out. And so I'm trying to throw and not throw up and nothing's coming out because I don't have any liquid in my body. And then one of the facilitators came over to me and he's like, do you want a second cup? I was like, yeah, like nothing's happening. I'm like, I'm not hallucinating. Like I feel like I have poison in me. I want it out. I want it out. And he's like, okay. So then he comes back to me and he gives me a full cup of ayahuasca, which is, it was like 4 times as much. It was tons compared to what I was taking before or the time before that we did ayahuasca. And I just downed it. And
Did you
I
keep
remember,
it down?
yeah, I
Oh,
downed it.
okay.
It was disgusting. I
Hmm.
sat at the edge of the bed and I was closed my eyes and I just close my eyes. I'm like lightly hallucinating, like there's a little bit of color, then it's like flashing like super fast. Like just the day before it was kind of colors waving around, and now it's like everything's intensified by a ton, and I'm just flashing and seeing a lot of stuff. I remember a flash of like, I want to say like me in a cave, or like almost like a Native American setting, me and one other person like sitting on the ground using like tools from made from rocks, and then that went away. And then I don't remember much after that except that I was in major pain. And I can't even tell you what hurt. I can just remember the facilitator coming next to the bed and saying my name. And then all I could hear was like, pss, 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 like he was talking to me, but I wasn't hearing anything. And I just remember tossing and turning, being like, no, I don't feel good. Please leave me alone. I'm tired. I feel bad. I'm tired. And I remember him sitting there trying to communicate with me and me not hearing anything but my name. And then just feeling horrible. And I don't remember what's happening. I'm throwing up, like throwing up so hard or dry heaving so hard that my fist is like slamming into the floor as I'm trying to get out of my body whatever is in there. But again, I haven't eaten anything or drank anything in hours, so nothing is coming out. But the dry heaving is like very intense. And I know from the people that were in the room that approached me the next day, were like, are you okay? Like, what the hell happened yesterday? And so, and I'll ask you what you remember, but I remember that. And then the facilitator talking to me. And then the next thing I know, and it felt like it lasted a long time, but the next thing I know, I'm asleep and everyone's gone. So I had fallen asleep in the room and woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning, which we were allowed to do. And then the next day, I just felt horrible because all I remember is like massive amounts of throwing up. My body wasn't in pain, but felt used almost. And I just sat by the fire in the main house and just started crying because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. There's zero hallucination. I'm not getting anything negative, like anything positive, no dimensional travel. I'm just sitting there vomiting my brains out. My body hurts. And so I started crying, and somebody called a shaman, and she sat in front of me, and she's like, you did a great job. You let go of so much childhood trauma. I was like, really? I didn't let go of anything in my mind. Like, there wasn't anything to come out. And so they call this the spiritual purging. I guess that's what it was. And she was like, oh, you did amazing. She wasn't worried at all. I was like, I'm injuring my body. This is not positive by any means. And she gave me some tea that she blessed, and I like went to sleep for like 4 or 5 hours. I was not happy or excited about that experience. I didn't understand what was happening. I felt like I wasn't getting anything out of ayahuasca. I was frustrated. And I thought to myself, I'm not doing this for a third time. Like, this is, I feel like I'm damaging my body. So that's what it felt like after the second day.
Honestly, I can tell you from, because I was sober night two. I was sitting there, and I won't go into too much detail because I feel like you already did, like you kind of gave a good explanation, but I will tell you something that I think that maybe you didn't know was happening. So I could definitely hear, well, I think now you know because I told you
Yes.
what was happening, but then like while you were like in it, we could, yes, I definitely heard you. I was like, my girl is going through it. Like I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, like I hope she's okay. But like during the ceremony and stuff like that, you're not allowed to talk to people. Like you're not supposed to be like, hey, are you okay? Did it, like everyone's supposed to be doing their own thing, and the facilitators are supposed to be the people that are like helping you through it. And so yes, I can hear Tamar, and like she is like banging on the floor, like, but it's like in like a, I can't explain it, but it was just like she's done. Like she's just like she's trying to get it out, but like she can't. And I was like, oh. But one thing that they did do, because the facilitator wanted you to go up for Icaros, and you were like, no, I'm not going. And so they came to you. And the shamans usually stay in their like shaman spot, and we stay in our bed. But the shamans came to Tamar, and two of them came over and they like sung to you. And I think what my understanding was is I forgot the guy shaman's name, but he started throwing up for you. So like he took away your pain and he started doing it for you. And I think that that's something that like shamans can do. Like I think that's what they train to do, is to be able to help you. And so he ended up throwing up for you. And now instead of hearing Tamar like banging on the floor and like throwing up, you hear a grown man just hurl. My man's was going through it. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds terrible. It sounded harsh. I'm not gonna lie. But once he did that, and I want to say they were over you for like 15, 20 minutes, you went to sleep. And it was quiet after that. So they did do that. That was the only part. But like, I'm be honest with you, I would have tapped out. Like the fact that you spoiler alert, she does night three, but I was like, she's not gonna do night three. Like, I wouldn't have. I'd have been like, I'm good. Like, that took it out of me. It just sounded exhausting. So I'm proud of you for doing all of that. And then the next day being like, you know what? I'm already here. Like, we're gonna do night three. But sorry for jumping ahead in the story. When did you decide? Because at the story that you ended with was you went to sleep. So when did you wake up and decide, hey, I'm here. I'm gonna do night three?
I think when after night two and I met with the shaman, she's like, "You did a great job." And I was like, "What the hell? Like, this is horrific." I think people need to understand, as much as I didn't want to have any expectations, this is so far from any type of experience I thought I was in pain. And not only was I in pain for such a long period, like hours at a time, but I am uncontrollable, like not controlling my body, throwing up or dry heaving. And it's so intense for me that I'm literally banging the floor. Like I want
Yeah.
it, like it was very intense. And then so these things are happening and I'm not getting any hallucinations, any insight. Like it feels just all very bad. And so for me, I'm just like, this is stupid. I'm physically injuring myself. Where the shamans are telling me, you're doing a great job. You're healing. You're healing. And so it's like almost combative, like mentally for me, because I'm like, I'm not healing anything. Like this is just, I'm just throwing up because feel this is like poisonous inside of me. So I just want it out. So after I'd woken up from that nap and the shaman had said I was doing great and gave me some tea, some of the facilitators came in my room and I said, I'm out. I was like, this isn't good for me. I can tell I'm injuring my body. I don't want to do this anymore. You're telling me I'm healing. I feel like shit and I don't want to do it anymore. And so these facilitators came in, we talked about it, and I am an all or nothing type of person. And I'm also like a very strong person. And so when we're talking and they're like trying, not persuade me, but telling me why they think I should keep going, by the end of that conversation, I was like, fuck it. I'm doing night three. If you're telling me there's more childhood trauma and stuff inside me that's going to come out, I will take down 3 glasses of ayahuasca. Like, let's get through it. And so I went from being like, nope, not doing this to like, I'm here. It sucked, but I can do it again. I can even go harder. If it means that you're telling me long term, I'm going to get better. Um, and so I decided to do it. And the one thing I'll say is because like I felt zero magic or woo woo or anything around doing ayahuasca. When I was speaking to the facilitators as we're talking about this, I started to see a white line around one of the facilitators. He's sitting across my room on a different bed and talking to me. And I'm like, I see your aura. It's white. Like, I'm shocked that I feel or see this because nothing has happened to me this whole time that we've been here. And he like laughed about it. It's like, oh, I'm an angel or something. And I was like, no, I genuinely see your body and I see lights around you. And that was kind of the only time I felt anything weird or spiritual or magical or whatever you want to call it had taken place. We didn't do ayahuasca every day. I think it was like every other day. So we had a day to relax, and then we went into the third session.
Yeah. And I will say, I think the general vibe after date or night two for everyone that was like doing ayahuasca, like, well, at least for me, and I think like Tom was also feeling like a little like, we were all down in the dirt. Like, we were down. I'm sorry, like, the whole vibe was messed up. And I think that it was hard not to compare experiences for me. Like, I'm hearing like, other people are like jumping dimensions and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, all I was doing was sitting there thinking about like Chipotle burritos and you were hopping dimensions. I want to talk to aliens. Like, this isn't fair. I feel like I'm not getting what I expected. And I'm gonna be honest, I came in there with expectations. I know they said not to, but like I did. And so it was, I think the general vibe after night two was very disappointing. That was the day I cried. The next day I cried because I also felt like this isn't right, like this isn't working and stuff like that. But I mean, I did have a different experience after like the debrief and stuff like that, which I feel like I went into detail in the last episode. So I want to go into your night three. So this is our final
Okay.
night of doing
Yeah.
ayahuasca, baby ayahuasca. How did it go? How were you feeling going into it? Were you like afraid, or you're just like a rock star? You're like, I don't even care. I'm doing it. Like, How
Yeah.
did you feel? I would have been scared. Like, I was scared for you. Like, I was just like, girl, you're gonna
That's
do it
how bad I
again?
felt, you guys. That's how bad I sounded, that the people that I was doing ayahuasca with were worried for me.
Yeah, like, I was just like, I would have tapped out. Honestly, guys, I'd have tapped out. Like, there's ain't no way, dog. Ain't no way. You're so strong for that. So, how were you feeling mentally?
I wasn't scared, but I was like, let's just get it. Like if it's gonna be horrible, I have one more night to be horrible and then it's over. So I I got there, everything was like the last two times. We sat around, we got our ayahuasca. They gave me a smaller on the second night I had a cup and a half. They gave me maybe like two-thirds of a cup. The third night, I sat there. I don't even think I threw up. I think I just sat there and I was like cold, sober the whole time. So I actually got to watch the ceremony and watch everyone else there and what happened, like in a very, very, very sober way. I didn't have any hallucinations or any colors. I was just sitting there watching it. And then at the end of this, almost at the end of the 4 hours, I was like, this sucks. Like, nothing's
Yeah.
happened. I'm not even sick, which is weird because I was so sick the last time. And they said, do you want a second cup? And I was like, yeah, I'm totally sober. Like, I don't know. I need something else. And they gave me a second cup. I don't even think I threw up that night. Maybe I threw up once, but
Hmm.
I just felt so different than the first two nights. I felt a sense of warmth, zero hallucination, zero insight, but just warm and happy and comforted. And I almost just like laid down in the bed and under a blanket, comfortably, like warm and happy. And then one of the facilitators came over to me and said, do you want to go sit in front of the shaman? And I was like, sure. So I went up and I like was like, whoa, like almost a little like a light high in a good way, a little woozy, but not, but like I was like smiling and like not sick. And I sat in front of him and he touched my hand. He said, tranquilo, like, I'm relaxed. I was like, yeah, I'm feeling really good. And he sang a song to me and held my hands and blew the smoke onto me. And then I sat in front of him and it was just very calm. And the main shaman was like sleeping right next to him. This is her brother. And so he was talking to me and then the translator was going back and forth between us. And he was like, he asked me, Tamar, do you have a partner in your life? And I said, no, I don't have a partner. And he's like, don't worry, you'll find them. And then all of a sudden, his sister, who was like sleeping, she like pops up. She's like, the problem is that not that Tamar's not gonna find one, but she's gonna have so many options, and she's gonna have to pick one. And then she like fell back
Period.
asleep. It was just very.
She said, I have
And
one
so
message and then I gotta
there's
go.
the message I got. It was just funny because she like popped up, said it was translated, popped back down, went back to sleep, and I was like high in a positive way. And so I was laughing with the translator. I was like, hey, like, I was like, ask him what my guy looks like. Like, I was like being funny and she was laughing with me. And I was like, guapo, like just being silly and laughing. And it was a very comforting, warm experience, unlike the last two nights. I basically went back to my bed. I closed my eyes and saw very light colors. And eventually the high went away and it was over. And I walked back to the house and went to my bed. So that was my third night. And the third night was a positive experience. Again, no hallucinating, no insight, no anything, but I did feel good.
Hey. Also, I forgot to tell you guys, they speak Spanish. That's why, like,
Yeah, there's a
the shaman
translator.
speaks Spanish, and so that's why we had a translator and all that stuff. Okay, so that was night 3. How did you feel about like the debrief and stuff like that? Like, how did that go the next day?
I just felt like they weren't that valuable. I wanted them to tell me more, and maybe they're not supposed to tell us. And maybe it's
Hmm.
like we know what we've done, we know what we've healed, and it's for you to live your life and see where things go. I just felt like I was asking questions and they weren't really coming up with forward answers. And again, it might be because they're not supposed to share those answers with us. I did feel like they said, not everyone gets to have some kind of, like go to a different dimension or like see God. And I definitely am not somebody who hallucinates. I'm clearly somebody who's very physical. I feel things within my body. And the thing they said to me was, Tamar, you worked really hard and you rid yourself a lot of your childhood trauma. So good for you. And that was kind of where it ended. And I feel like if we're talking about this now, like when we looked back at the end of those 10 days, I wasn't really happy with the
Yeah.
experience for a lot of reasons. Not just because of the ayahuasca, but like the retreat itself wasn't great. And the
The whole
people
thing
that
was ghetto, you guys. The whole thing was ghetto. I felt like I was in like I was like, is am I getting punked right now? It was the pits, in my opinion.
it wasn't it
Respectfully.
wasn't it wasn't great. And
Yeah.
Jade felt it a lot, and I felt it too, but like more than it being like the people we were with, there was some like negativity and like bickering and fighting, which was unnecessary. When you're going somewhere to heal, you assume the people around you want the same thing, but there was just there was some negative energy, which really put a damper on it for me.
Mhm.
And I left kind of feeling like, I'm not sure what happened. I don't feel like I got anything out of this experience. And that's how
Yeah.
I left. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember the car ride back to the airport. So we rode back to the airport together, and I think like the general feeling that we both had was just like, first of all, what the fuck did we just do? That was
hmm
wild
hmm
in like a lackluster way because I think we both just felt disappointed too. Like I think we were just like that wasn't I tried to let go of my expectations while we were there. Like I understood I came there with expectations, but I tried to let go of them, but it was hard not to compare. But I think in general like it was just like that's not even like in the neighborhood of what I thought was going to happen. I was like, girl, I guess. Yeah. You did make some like declarations at the end though. Like
I
what were
did.
your declarations after ayahuasca?
Kind of came back and was like, it's over. It was what it was. I wanted to do ayahuasca. I did it. I'm disappointed in the results because I'm a very type A. I was like, there were no results.
Yeah.
And I just said, you know what? I think we did it in June or like early
I
July,
think it
something
was
like
like
that.
yeah, end of June-ish,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I said by the end of the year, I've been struggling and have been struggling a lot with my purpose in this world and the job that I've been doing, the type of work I've been doing for 10 years. And I was like, if I don't have another job by the end of the year, I've been interviewing for 2 years and just things aren't working out. I'm just quitting. And if I have to give up my apartment and have somebody take it over because I have a mortgage, I'll do it. And I'll sleep on a friend's couch and I'll just figure it out. But I'm not going to do this type of work for another 10 years and really not grow as a person or, because that's what I want to do. So I just declared it and I felt it. And I know people do that in like, in terms of manifesting, but like it was just remember being like, I'm saying this out loud and I truly mean it and I feel it. So that happened. That was really the only thing that I felt like when I got home, I said and declared. Everything else was kind of like, it's over. It happened. It was a weird experience. I don't feel like I got much out of it, but it's done.
Mhm.
And then when I spoke to my therapist about it, I shared the story and she's like, this is amazing. I was like, really? Was it? And she's like, you wanted to do ayahuasca in a safe place. You did it. You were told you were healing your childhood trauma. That's something that you've told me you wanted to do. They told you were going to meet somebody. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that even happened.
Yeah, a
So
positive.
there was like all these positive things. She just looked at it from a different view. And maybe I was coming to it with such a negative view and holding on to that there were positive things that came out of it, but not having expectations did lead to a lot of expectations. And I kind of was just like, it happened and I'm done.
So it's 6 months later. Where are things at with you right now? Do you feel like your childhood trauma is gone? Did they like take it away? Like where are things at with your declarations? How's
Yeah.
life?
I feel like people said Mother Aya gives you what you're supposed to get. And it was just like a eye rolling whatever experience. I think that Mother Aya smacked me in the face a few times. I think that for me, ayahuasca showed through months later and it continues to show through. And as my therapist said to me, once you do ayahuasca, there's no going back. So I guess I was unintentionally hoping for some kind of insight or vision or something that was be a clear sign to me that I'm moving in the right direction. I didn't get any of those things, but I did feel a sense of calmness and also almost more joy. Like I caught myself in the car driving and just kind of singing something to the like a song on the radio, and I just had a feeling like, this is how I felt when I was 16. Like kind of youthful and free and happy. And I recognized that, like I realized that was happening. I was like, oh, this is interesting that I'm feeling this kind of like freedom that I haven't been feeling, stuck in a job and a life that maybe is a little more routine than I'd like. So I'll give that up. I also quit my job and took a job in something completely different under a friend who'd left the company I was with. We were both miserable. And then we started this new company, and I was like, whatever, I'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, I'll get another job, which is not how I usually think. I'm very structured. And then in a month and a half in, he got fired. Everyone he hired got fired, including myself. So I am currently unemployed. And that's the first time in years. And I think that in the past, and you can say this is ayahuasca or not ayahuasca, but I woke up the next day and I went out and bought myself a new outfit. And generally,
Period.
when somebody gets fired, or when I was always coming from a place of fear and scarcity and lack in life, even though I have a beautiful life and enough money, I just always came from that place. And so for me to not know where my next paycheck would be coming from, or have a job and wake up the next day having slept well and not be in a place of fear, a huge was huge for me. I was completely different from who I was or have been in the past. And I think I'm supposed to be here. Like, I think I'm supposed to be in a place where I'm not working and where I'm not doing something anymore that I don't want to do. I'm only going to do things moving forward that I want to do, and not living from a place of fear anymore when it comes to money, which is, I think, something that is an influence from my family and from society. And so I've been unemployed now for a month and a half, which is definitely not where I thought I would be, but I've had a beautiful month and a half, feeling more joy and happiness with friends, and being at the holidays, like being at events and things where I'm having more fun. I think I just really lacked fun. I was so focused on hating my job that I forgot that I've in the past and also in life have had a lot of joy and wasn't really living that way for the last couple of years. And so I was just like, it's the end of the year. There's no way I'm going to get a job in the next month or 2 months. Lucky by the end of January if I do. And I'm not going to search. Like, I'm lucky enough that I have some savings and I just need a break. So I would just sit outside at a cafe and drink coffee by myself and just feel really grateful and happy, which is something I didn't expect. And weirdly, and we haven't really talked about this, Jade, things started coming to me. Like, a friend of mine said there was an opening at her company, and I interviewed, and they said, I don't think it's a good fit. You'll be getting paid this much money. And it was like less than half that I made at my last job. I was like, I don't think it's a good fit either, but thanks for interviewing me.
Yeah.
And I told her about it, and she was like, that's not right. I don't think that's the salary. They called me back a couple weeks later, and he's like, hey, Tamar, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. They hadn't done, they hadn't gone through the amount of money they had for this role. I made a mistake, basically. And he's like, listen, you're great, and we want to hire great people. So we're going to make a place for you. We're going to create a job for you at this company. And I was like,
Hell yeah.
I've had to fight and interview and do presentations and work so hard to get ahead in the industry and job that I didn't even want, just so I can feel like stable or security around my finances. And here I was unemployed, not even looking, and this came to me. And something else really weirdly came to me as well. I had this girl on LinkedIn, which I turned off my LinkedIn. I was like, I'm not going back to tech ever again. I'm not doing this anymore. But I turned it on because I was like, I'm unemployed. I'm just going to have it open. Some girl reached out to me like, hi, I work for a woman who's an entrepreneur coach, and she does A, B, C, and D. And like, are you interested? It says you're looking for a new job on LinkedIn. I was like, yeah, why not? I'm unemployed. She's a coach. She's going to charge me a shitload of money, but I can't hurt to like learn. So I met with her for an hour and basically explained who I am, where I'm at in my life, wanting to learn how to work for myself and make my own money and be accountable to myself versus helping a big company make money and not helping anyone else. And we had this call, and she talked about what she did, and she used to be in tech, and she was helping people who wanted to get out of corporate jobs understand what's available for them in terms of entrepreneurship, especially women. And so I said, this sounds amazing, but I am unemployed and I can't pay you thousands of dollars for coaching. And she's like, well, this is how I work. I talk to 100 people a year. I don't charge them any money. If 8 to 10 of those people buy some of the products at the end of the program that I offer, I will have made enough money for the year. So I said, you're going to coach me for free and I don't have to buy anything, but if I choose to, that's how you get paid. And she's like, yeah, I got out of HR and tech to like really help people. And as long as, for the last 3 years, it's worked that 10 people have bought from me, I don't have to worry about charging people for every hour that I meet with them. And
Oh.
so here I have somebody who came to me, I didn't seek anything out, offering me free coaching to help me better understand how I can work for myself or what I want to do for myself. So I don't take, I like want to chalk up these little marks of these things that are happening to me as I become more calm, as I feel happier about life, as I have more gratitude for where I am, even as an unemployed person with no job prospects today. And whether that's from ayahuasca or not, these are the results that are of things that are happening since you and I were in Peru together.
Well, I didn't know all of those things. So thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And I think me and you have talked about like ayahuasca having like this long lasting impact, and it's still, in my opinion, dragging me by my hair. But I won't go too deep into mine, but it makes me happy to know that like things are working out. In my opinion, Mother Ayahuasca gave tough love to us, in my opinion. Like it was very much like, okay, you want these things, I'm going to give it to you, but it's not going to be in a sweet, loving way. Okay. We're not Tom. Okay. So you're not going to you're not going to leave and fall in love and meet the love of your life and then want to, live with that girl, whatever. Some people did have really great stories. Me and Tamar had,
A couple slaps in the
yeah,
face.
a couple. Yeah. But it makes me happy that things are working out for you. I'll give my 6 month update and then we'll share our moments and then we can wrap things up. But I'll give you guys just like a little update on what happened to me afterwards because it has been 6 months and Mother Ayahuasca has really, yeah, dog walked me. So let's see what hasn't happened. No, I'm joking. But I moved back from the Bay Area, which I did want to do. I got into a car accident. I got like super sick. All of these things were happening. I ended up losing my job as well. And it's been honestly eye opening because I think that these are all things that I kind of like wanted. I wanted to move back from the Bay Area and stuff like that. My goal has always been to like travel and live outside of America and stuff like that. And I honestly think that the job that I was doing probably wasn't going to be the job that was going to let me go. And so the universe, in my opinion, was like, okay, well, you have to let that go. And so Tamar has been a great role model on, you know what? Vibes. Keep the vibes right. So I'm definitely keeping the vibes right. And I think that for me, it's been really important to learn to trust things. I think that for the last 6 months, I have experienced things kicking and screaming, like, and being dragged by my hair. And it's like, girl, this is for the betterment of you. You don't understand it right now, but the big picture is very much this is for you. It's not happening to you. And so now that I'm able to look back and be like, I kind of got the things that I wanted, not in the way that I wanted them, but like they're happening for me. I'm obviously grateful. It's a little scary and I'm trying not to like let that fear pop in, but my plan is to leave America in February. I like worked on my business and everything. Concept Wellbeing is now an LLC, y'all. And like I'm working on like contracting, like consulting work and stuff like that to like be able to support me outside of America. But I think that Mother Ayahuasca was very, for me, tough. Like it was, and I didn't know that your therapist was like, once you do ayahuasca, there's no going back. Like, first of all, I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you, and maybe this will be the last question that I have. I don't know that I would do this again without someone like paying me because the way that I got my shit rocked has been absurd. Question: would you do it again? Knowing everything, going through everything, would you do this again?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I think that, I think you said you hit on a few things. One, trust. Think where I'm at now is like I'm just really trusting that things don't happen to me, they happen for me. And so that's a place that I've never been able to been in because I had lived from such a place of fear. So I feel like whether it's the experiences or whatever medicine Mother Aya gave to me, that I'm in a much better place to really feel that. And that's something I've worked on in therapy for many years. And it's just been really something that's gone up and down. And two, you said we have to believe this is happening for us and not just to us. You've been slapped across the face a few times.
Girl, I didn't know I was gonna have to fight for my life, but here we are.
But I do feel like my therapist did say you do get what you're supposed to get, and it's not in the way that you want it. So nothing I received from this experience came in the way that I thought or believed it should have. But I've gotten a lot of things, and it only really started like 4 months after ayahuasca, and it's still happening for me. So I don't want to say necessarily people should go out and do ayahuasca, it'll change your life, because for some people it did. For me, it's more of a slow change and things that I've already worked on for a long time in terms of trusting myself, being in a place where I am confident enough to believe that I'm going to get what I'm supposed to get. And in time, I do think that if I was to do it over again, I wouldn't do it in a retreat setting. I would probably go to the jungle and do it with the nonprofit that this retreat came from, where you live in the jungle with a shaman and her family, and you stay there. I think we did too many. We didn't talk about it, but we did a lot of other
Yeah.
psychedelic stuff, and I just think it was too much. And so if I was to do it again, I probably would just go and focus on ayahuasca alone.
That's big of you because the way that I have no business in that jungle, but I digress. It's fine. Well, thank you so much, Tamar, for sharing your story with us. I do want to wrap this episode up with a moment. Typically, we'll start off with a moment, but we're going to end with a moment. So we have three different options. Have your choice, but the first one you could choose is a failing moment, or a grateful moment, or a wellness moment. Do you want me to? I could go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So I'm going to choose a wellness moment. My wellness moment, and I feel like it's not a wellness moment, but I think that this is more so my new practice is my meditations. I've been meditating more with well, guys, I got new singing bowls. I got new bowls, and they're like made out of crystals. And so one thing that I've been doing now is like I'll meditate with them, which I was always doing, but now I put water inside of the bowls. And while I'm meditating, like the bowls are charging the water. And so now I'll drink the water, which I don't know, like Tamar saw me in person. She was like, your skin. So that's my wellness moment. I've been drinking positively charged water. That is my moment. Do you want to go next?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I
She's like, well, there's no one else to go.
there's no one else here. I think something that I've been working on, and you won't know this because this is the first time we're podcasting together, but it's like finding and bringing more joy into my life. I think that I really allowed my unhappiness within my job to really create or kind of lead how I felt about life. And I think, ironically, being unemployed, not having or knowing when I'm going to have a job next, I've really just embraced feeling joy, and that can be walking my dog by the water and just watching the sunset, or just sitting, like I said, by myself and having a coffee. Like, I'm just finding joy in things that are very simple. And I think that leads to gratitude and happiness, and even just the change in how you feel about the day. And so I'm really happy that I've allowed myself to have those moments, again, coming from a place of fear and lack, where I always need to feel a security around money. And I don't have that right now, and I'm doing okay. So just really grateful for that change, wherever or whoever gave that to me.
Well, I am super grateful that we could experience this. I was going to be dramatic and be like this tragedy, but that's dramatic. I'm really grateful that we had this experience together, and I appreciate you sharing your experience with the listeners. With that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So thank you all for listening. We hope that you have a good day or a good night, and we hope that you're well. Bye.